The house at the end of the silent road. Deep in the middle of a pine forest stood an old fading house, the villagers called it. A house at the end of the silent road. A place long abandoned, though sometimes it seemed as if someone still lived there. Long ago, it belonged to a doctor named Dr. Armand, who ran a small clinic for the nearby villagers. But one stormy night, his entire family vanished without a trace. The next morning, the house was found with the doors wide open, lights still on, and dark red stains across the wooden floor. Years later, a university student named Raka came to investigate the mystery. He had heard the rumors that on every full moon, footsteps echoed inside the house, and a voice called out from an upstairs window. Raka didn't believe in ghosts. Armed with a flashlight and a camera, he entered the house at dusk. The front door creaked open slowly, as if welcoming a long-awaited guest. Inside, the air was unnaturally cold. The wooden floors were thick with dust, and strange markings covered the walls, symbols that looked like ancient Latin. When he took a photo, the camera captured a faint shadow in the corner, a small figure, like a child. Watching him, he turned around. Nothing there. But then, soft footsteps echoed from upstairs. Heart-pounding, Raka climbed the staircase. Each step groaned under his weight, the sound echoing through the empty hall. When he reached the second floor, a gentle voice called out, "Doctor, the pain is coming back." Raka froze. The voice came from the room at the end of the hallway. Slowly, he opened the door. Inside was an old bed stained with dried blood. On the wall hung a dusty family photo. Dr. Armand, his wife, and their 2 children. But as Raka shined his flashlight on the photo, the children's faces began to change. They turned toward him, smiling with pitch-black eyes. The flashlight flickered out. In the darkness, he heard breathing and the sound of tiny footsteps circling around him. Then, a whisper brushed against his ear. "You came to replace them, didn't you?" The next morning, villagers found Raka's car parked outside the house. The door was open, his camera on the front seat, but he was gone. Inside the house, on a dusty wall, new words had been carved. "A new patient has been admitted." 2 weeks had passed since Raka disappeared. His friends, worried and desperate, decided to search for him. Among them was Maya, Raka's closest friend, and the last person he messaged before vanishing. His last text simply read, "If I don't reply by morning, don't come here." But Maya couldn't ignore it. With 2 classmates, Andy and Cinta, she drove down the same lonely road that led to the house. The forest was silent, as if holding its breath. When they reached the end of the dirt path, the old house stood exactly as Raka had described it. Cold, still, and watching. "Let's split up," Andy said. "We'll cover more ground." Maya hesitated. "No, we stay together." But Andy had already gone upstairs. The air inside felt thick, like it hadn't been breathed in for years. Dust floated in their flashlight beams, and faint whispers seemed to echo through the halls. Maya swore she heard someone crying. Then she saw it. Raka's camera, lying on a broken chair. The last video was still saved. She pressed play. The footage showed Raka walking through the house, whispering to himself. Suddenly, he looked behind him, eyes wide with fear. "Who's there?" he said. Then the video glitched. A distorted voice whispered through the static. "Stay with us, Doctor." The screen went black. From upstairs came Andy's scream. Maya and Cinta ran up, only to find his flashlight rolling on the floor, and no sign of Andy. On the wall above the staircase, written in dark red letters, was a new message. "The doctor is never alone." Maya turned to Cinta, trembling. "We need to go now." But before they could move, the lights flickered. The old radio in the corner crackled to life, playing a faint heartbeat sound. Slow, steady, and human. Then, over the static, a voice they both recognized whispered, "Maya, it hurts." It was Raka's voice. The radio hissed louder, and through the noise came one last whisper, "Your turn." The next morning, the house stood silent once again. The villagers said they saw 3 new shadows behind the upstairs window that night, and the house, once empty, looked alive again. The house had been silent for months. No one dared to enter after Maya, Andy, and Cinta vanished. But one night, a storm swept through the forest, and for the first time in years, the light inside the house flickered on again. That same night, a man named Inspector Demas arrived. He had been investigating the disappearances for years. First at Dr. Armand's family, then and finally the 3 students. He didn't believe in ghosts, but deep down he felt the house was waiting for him. The front door creaked open easily. The moment he stepped inside, the air grew colder. His flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing medical charts, rusted surgical tools, and patient files scattered across the floor. On one of the papers, he saw a familiar name written in faded ink. Patient Raka Prat. Status under observation. Demas frowned. What the hell? He turned another page. Patient Maya S. Condition resists treatment. Suddenly, a faint humming filled the room, like someone softly singing a lullaby. He followed the sound into a hallway that led to a locked metal door. The word operating room was carved above it. Using his crowbar, he forced it open. Inside was a cold, sterile room. Tables, straps, and empty bottles labeled sedative. But what froze him in place was the large mirror on the wall. In the reflection, he saw someone standing behind him, a man in a white doctor's coat, face hidden by a surgical mask. Demas spun around. No one was there. Then the mirror began to fog up, as if someone were breathing from the other side. Slowly, letters appeared on the glass. You're just in time for your appointment. The door slammed shut behind him. His flashlight flickered violently. From the darkness, voices began to whisper. Dozens of them. Doctor, it still hurts. Help us. And then, from the corner of the room, Dr. Armand stepped out, his coat stained with blood, his eyes hollow, yet smiling warmly. Ah, another patient. Don't worry, Inspector. This won't hurt for long. The next morning, the storm was gone. But now, the villagers said they could see a man in a white coat standing by the window of the old house, staring at the forest road, as if waiting for someone new to arrive. Long before the disappearances, before anyone called it the house at the end of the silent road, it was known simply as the Armand Clinic, a place of healing and hope. Dr. Armand was once a respected physician, famous for curing rare diseases. But behind his kind smile, he hid a dark obsession, the secret to defeating death itself. It began when his wife Laras fell ill with a strange sickness no doctor could cure. She grew weaker every day, until one night she begged him not to let her die. Desperate, Armand turned to forbidden books, ancient medical rituals, from a lost manuscript known as Corpus Vitae, the body of life. Those rituals spoke of binding the soul to flesh, of keeping a heart beating long after it should stop. So, one stormy night, Dr. Armand performed the ritual on his dying wife. The wind howled as he whispered the final words. Then, silence. When he looked up, Laras opened her eyes. But something was wrong. Her pupils were black as ink. And when she spoke, her voice was not her own. You shouldn't have brought me back, Armand. From that night on, the house changed. Lights flickered on their own. The walls pulsed faintly, as if the house itself was breathing. His children woke screaming at night, saying their mother stood by their bed, whispering that they would never leave again. Weeks later, the entire family vanished. Only Dr. Armand's blood-stained notes were found. She isn't my wife anymore. The ritual worked, but it brought others with her. Years passed. The house remained cursed. Every person who entered, Rakamaya, even Inspector Demas, became new patients. Their souls were trapped, feeding the entity that had once been lit. And now, something darker was awakening. The villagers began hearing whispers, even outside the forest. Some nights, the light from the house flickered in rhythm, like a heartbeat. And those who stood too close swore they heard a woman's voice calling softly from the darkness. Come in. The doctor will see you now. The villagers had reached their limit. For decades, people had gone missing near that cursed house. And now, strange figures were being seen wandering the forest at night, pale, silent, their eyes empty. One of them looked like Inspector D, another like Raka. So the villagers decided, tonight, we end it. We burn the house down. As midnight fell, 10 men gathered with torches and fuel. The forest was silent, the moon hidden behind thick clouds. When they reached the house, its windows seemed to glow faintly from within, as if it already knew they were coming. They poured gasoline around the walls. The leader of the group, Pak Suryo, muttered a prayer, and struck a match. The flame caught fast. The dry wood hissed and crackled. For a moment, it seemed like it might work, until they heard the screams. Not human screams. They came from inside the house. "It burns, Doctor. It burns. Help us, please." The men froze in terror. One of them shouted, "They're still alive inside," and ran toward the door. Pack. Suryo grabbed him, yelling, "No one's inside. They're gone." But then the door burst open. Out stumbled a woman. Her face half-burned, eyes black as night. She whispered with a smile, "You can't burn what's already dead." The flames suddenly turned blue, swirling upward like a living thing. The fire didn't destroy the house. It fed it. The air was filled with the smell of burnt flesh and something else. Something sweet, like flowers rotting in the sun. One by one, the men dropped their torches and fled. But Pak Suryo stayed. He fell to his knees as he saw Dr. Arman appear in the doorway, untouched by the fire, his white coat perfectly clean. "You tried to kill my home," the doctor said softly, "but this house doesn't die. It only grows." The flames died as suddenly as they had started. The house stood untouched. Not a single mark of ash, but by morning, every man who had come to burn it was gone. Only Pak Suryo was found standing motionless at the edge of the forest, whispering over and over. The doctors still working. That night, the villagers saw new lights inside the house, and behind one window, a dark figure could be seen moving, building something. Metal, sharp, surgical. The house wasn't dying, it was preparing. After the failed burning, the villagers stopped going near the forest. Every night, the same sound echoed from deep within, the slow, rhythmic thump of a beating heart. And, with each full moon, that heartbeat grew louder. Desperate, the village elder sent for help. Someone who wasn't afraid of curses. Her name was Sister Helena, an exorcist from the city, known for cleansing haunted churches and restless souls. But when she heard about the Arman Clinic, her expression darkened. "I've read about that place," she said quietly. "That's not a haunting, that's a feeding ground." Helena arrived just before dusk. The house stood silent, but the air around it was heavy, like it was alive and breathing slowly. She placed blessed salt along the path, lit a candle, and stepped through the front door. Inside, the walls seemed to whisper. Old portraits lined the hallway, their eyes following her every move. One painting of Dr. Arman himself looked freshly painted, as if it had just been finished that morning. Helena began to chant, her rosary clutched tightly in her hand. But with each prayer, the shadows deepened. Then came the voice, low, calm, familiar. "You're wasting your prayers, sister." Helena turned. Dr. Arman stood by the staircase, smiling gently, his hands folded like a man ready to greet a guest. "I only wanted to heal them," he said. "But you call that sin? You brought something back that was never meant to return," she answered. "You opened the gate." Arman tilted his head. "The gate opens both ways." Suddenly, the house shuddered. From the walls, hands began to push out, pale ghostly arms clawing toward her. The air filled with screams. Maya, Raka, even Inspector Demas, their voices twisted together. Helena raised her crucifix and shouted, "By the light, I command you." But before she could finish, the floor split open. Beneath it, she saw not earth, but flesh, veins, muscle, and a beating heart, larger than a human body, pulsing in the dark. The house wasn't just cursed, it was alive. Helena threw holy water toward the heart, and the walls screamed. The shadows writhed. The doctor's smile vanished, his face melting into black smoke. The ground shook violently, and then silence. When the villagers came at dawn, they found the house still standing, though quiet. Inside, they discovered only one thing: Helena's crucifix, lying in a puddle of blood that pulsed faintly, as if something underneath was still breathing. That night, a new light appeared inside the house, a candle burning on its own beside a mirror. In the reflection stood not the doctor, but Sister Helena, whispering softly, "Your turn, Father." The village had fallen silent again. No birds sang near the forest, no wind dared to pass through the trees. But some nights, when the moon was full, the faint echo of a heartbeat could still be heard from the direction of the old house. That was when Father Adrian arrived. He was young, but his eyes carried the same haunted look as Sister Helena, his mentor, who never returned. In his hands, he carried her crucifix, the same one found soaked in blood. "If her soul is still inside," he whispered, "I'll bring her out, or burn with her." As he approached, the house greeted him with a soft groan. Its windows flickered faintly, like eyes waking from sleep. Inside, the air reeked of rot and medicine. The walls pulsed weakly, like veins trying to carry one last drop of life. Adrian stepped into the main hall and saw portraits hanging crookedly on the wall. Raka, Maya, Dimas, Elena, and now a new one forming in the center, his own face. He didn't run. He opened his Bible and began the final rite ritual of severance, a forbidden exorcism meant to tear the bond between soul and flesh. "In the name of the Holy Spirit, I command this vessel to release what it holds." The ground trembled. From the shadows, Dr. Armand appeared again, but this time, his face was no longer human. Half bone, half smoke, eyes glowing red from within. "You can't save her," Armand hissed. "She's part of the house now. They all are." Adrian raised the crucifix. "Then, I'll free them, all of them." The floor split open, revealing the giant heart beneath the house, black and beating slower than before. Screams of hundreds of trapped souls filled the air. Adrian thrust the crucifix downward. The heart howled. The walls bled. Fire burst from the cracks as the house began to collapse. Through the chaos, Helena's voice whispered softly, "Finish it, Adrian." With his final breath, Adrian recited the closing verse, "Let the living rest and the dead return to dust." A blinding light erupted. When dawn came, the forest was silent again. Where the house once stood, there was only ash and a single blackened crucifix, half buried in the soil. The heartbeat was gone. No more whispers, no more shadows. But on quiet nights, when the fog rolls through the trees, some villagers say they still see a faint light where the house once stood, and a man in priest's robes walking among the ruins, whispering the same words over and over. "The doctor is gone, but the house remembers."